All right. All right. Today on the Implicit Show, we're going to talk about fear. It's Q&A Tuesday. You guys have any questions, comments, whatever, you guys could leave them on the screen. Tapping into the true potential of the human spirit. This is Humanity Empowered. This is the Implicit Show. Hello, what is up? What up? What up? My name is Brian Dubé. I'm your host today on the Implicit Show. Today, it's Q&A Tuesday, so we're doing everything this well. I guess I got to stand on this side now because look, we'll get your comments and questions on the screen. If you're listening through audio, I'll try to help you a little bit along the way, and I'll help you get these questions answered. So, what's today all about? Guys, today's about fear, right? We all deal with fear. I deal with fear all the time. And through my experience with fear, I've found ways to just overcome it and get through it. And so today, that's what we're going to talk about. So let me know if you guys are in here. We'll get some comments and everything going. Okay. So why did I want to bring up the topic of fear? I think right now is a time where a lot of people are dealing with it, myself included. And so I've been really, through my research in this area, because I felt so much fear in my past, growing up, being a teenager, all of that stuff, I was always fearful of something. Initially, I think I was just fearful just for the sake of being fearful. I was eating a lot of bad foods and doing a lot of things, and just I was in an environment that I didn't really necessarily like, and it led me to a lot of fear. But as a teenager, I also started looking into a lot of conspiracy theories and stuff like that, and then I got really fearful, right? Because all of a sudden all my beliefs were shattered, and I was thinking about how I was fearful of the government, and I was fearful of my parents, and I was fearful of school, and I was fearful of just random people on the streets. And so I was really closed down from the world. I was really it was basically in survival mode. That's what fear does to you. That's what fear brings to you. And so being in survival mode, I didn't really get a lot done. I didn't really experience a lot of life. I was basically just shut down. I played a lot of video games. That was kind of my escape. I loved video games because it was kind of like a movie, but you're in the movie. It's different, right? You get to make decisions. It's really cool. And so like a lot of people, I got addicted to this process. I really got addicted to video games. And so I had to basically, at some point, I had to actually, I think our comment thing is broken here. Let's fix this. Let's fix this live on the air. Oh, wrong thing. Yeah, so I basically was at a point in my life where I was constantly distracting myself from the fear that I felt, because I was really fearful all the time. I was really, like I said, shut down from everybody, shut down from the world. So let me fix this comment thing so we could get your comment and questions on the screen. So leave your comments, because guys, I know I'm not the only one who experiences this fear. When I talk to a lot of people, they ask me how I do this show 5 days a week. They're like, how do you do it, man? How do you get up there and just talk and chat and then talk about your life and yourself and everything? Leave your comments on screen. Sorry, I'm writing on screen here. How do you do it? And the reality is, every time I do it, I'm fearful. Every time I do it, I'm still a little bit nervous. And so something I had to realize, I got basically 3 key things that I think are really important to notice about fear. And the first thing is, guys, it's natural. Like, everybody has fear. Everybody has doubt. Everybody has insecurities. Everybody gets anxious. Everybody gets depressed from time to time. People get stressed. They get overwhelmed. It's like human nature. It's literally dialed into who we are if you look into the science of it. And just realizing that alone, when I learned that, was like reassurance, because it helps you realize you're not alone. You're not the only person who has felt the way you feel. And so it gave me reassurance in my tough times that, hey man, other people have been here and they've been able to get out of here, and they've been able, experience more of life, experience more happiness, more pleasure, more love, whatever it is you're after in life. And, for a lot of people, for myself particularly, in that moment when I was fearful, it was hard for me to accept that and realize that. But when I finally did, it really helped open up things for me, because all of a sudden I realized, okay, I'm not the only person who has been through this. So maybe if I ask somebody else, or I do a Google search. That was my thing. I was always on Google. I was always on YouTube looking up things because I wasn't so extroverted to like go out and talk to people very much, right? I wasn't going to go and talk to a coach or a therapist or even a family member or a friend. I was way more at that point in my life just introverted. And so like Google, YouTube, these kind of podcasts, this stuff was my friend because I had somebody who had experienced what I'm going through, and they were giving me like not just inspiration but also motivation, like reason to do it. And also just through their stories, hearing them how they went through tough times. Some people, can some things I would consider even worse, but we're all human beings and we all suffer at some level. And so that reassurance helped me realize, and look, it's completely natural because the brain, the human biology, it's not meant to make you happy. It's not meant to make you pleasurable and like that all the time. Really, it's over evolution. It's developed because it wants to keep you alive. You want to survive. You don't want to die. You don't want to, you want to survive. And so that was a big part of realizing like everybody deals with fear. We all go through it. It's not something you have to worry about at all. And so that being said, we still want to deal with fear. We don't want to just have fear run our lives, right? And so the second thing that has really helped me get out of this is role modeling. After I realized, okay, other people have done this, who could I find now who has done it and who I could learn from step by step? And so like I said, through podcasts and stuff like this, but also I realized that I could be my own role model. And so you can be your own role model. Think about it. If you look back into the past, one sec, like Adam, that's he says fear, FEAR, just stands for false evidence appearing real, right? It's a lot of things, is stuff we make up in our heads. And so I love that you brought this up because it reminds me of how, in the past, as we were evolving, we were scared of like, predators, wolves, bears, saber-toothed tigers, right? Crazy things that were trying to kill us. And so we developed this natural fear and nervous and anxiety and excitement so that we know, okay, we got to get out of here, right? But nowadays, our fear, our false evidence appearing real, is oftentimes it's just, I think it's like, what does this person think of me? I don't know what these people think of me on this podcast right now. Maybe they're judging me. Maybe they think I kind of look funny. Maybe there's something up with my hair. Does he cut his own hair? What a weirdo, right? What a terrible person, right? These are the kind of fears we have, and it's like it's almost ridiculous when you compare it to the fears we used to have. And also that's not the only fear. A lot of people they fear, their career, they fear in their relationships, they fear in their finances, they fear in their spirituality or their morals and values. They fear in so many areas. And so if we could really tackle those fears, it really frees us. And so I've been able to realize like I could be my own role model. If you're afraid of something, think of a time in your past, look at in the past and realize, have I ever realized, like, let me ask you right now, actually, have you ever been at a point in your life where you were extremely fearful? Like, think back of a time. It could be years ago. I'm talking like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, two weeks ago, right? Earlier today, right? You were in intense fear. What happened there, right? At some point, you lost the fear. At some point, you made it through. At some point, you have some sort of evidence to prove that you've done something, that you've been through it. And so you can be your own role model in that situation. You could be your own hero when you really think about it. So take a second while I drink this water and think back in your past. Seriously, think of a moment. If you have something, put it in the comment section. I'd love to engage with you and talk about your story. There's a lot of talk about my story all the time, right? Because it's just me here trying to entertain you and just trying to be open and vulnerable and give you as much of myself as I possibly can. But I also want to know about you guys. I want to know what drives you. I want to know your fears. I need like a Jeopardy dun, 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 every time I'm drinking water. I get so into it, guys. I gotta drink water. Okay, guys, and also, actually, we got a message here from Steve Range. Steve, thank you for your message. He says the corporate wants us to be afraid because they need us to carry lunch boxes to their work prisons and be afraid to quit. I think I think what Steve's trying to say here is there's a lot of special interest in keeping you afraid, right? In making sure that you are not too outside of the box or not too, creative or inventive, right? Look at the school system, look at the work system. There's a lot of that out there. And so, you got to be aware of your environment, and is it promoting, happiness? Is it promoting freedom? Is it promoting love? Or is it promoting fear and nerves and anxiety and depression? What kind of environment are you in your work and stuff? So got another message from Adam. He says, my fear is I will never be the best I can be, that I was meant to do something but may not achieve it. I could totally relate to that fear, man. I think a lot of people who are always trying to improve themselves, I don't know if you're like I am. I mean, to hear a message like that, I'm assuming you're just like I am. You're always looking for some sort of small way you could tweak yourself, improve yourself, learn new habits, learn new things, apply new things, take better action. And you're always, trying to improve, always trying to be your best. But through that pursuit, sometimes you fall short sometimes, and you beat yourself up, and you're like, oh, damn, like I didn't do as good as I could have done. I wasn't good as I could have been, because you're always striving for this really perfection version of yourself almost, right? Like I really feel that. And, I think the way to alleviate that fear, or at least work towards that fear, is actually the third step that I want to talk about. The third thing that really helped me with fear. But I want to hear some other comments before I'm gonna make you wait for that one, Adam. Peter Francis says, fear is a big illusion made up from the thoughts of our mind. Precisely. There's so many ways you could describe fear. But at the bottom line is it's something we make up ourselves. It's something created from within. I can't throw fear at you. I can't hit you with fear, but I could persuade you or influence you to create fear within yourself. As long as you're ruminating in your mind, which leads to this next step, as long as you're ruminating in your mind, you're going to be fearful. Steve says, turn fear of failure into looking at it as learning. Yes, man, very powerful. That's something I tell myself every day. As long as I learn, I'm succeeding, right? As long as I learn, I cannot fail. It's just like I'm improving, I'm learning something. What I should add to that is, as long as I'm learning, and this third step, let me say it one more time. As long as I'm learning and I take action, that will alleviate any kind of fear, and that will make me successful. So think about it. This is the third thing that completely helped me alleviate fear. Was, step one, I've come to terms with it. I know it's natural. I know it's okay. I've accepted and I respect fear, right? Like I'm down with fear. Me and fear, we're pals, right? That's step one. You got to be okay with fear. Two, I know other people who could get out of it. And I know how they're doing it, and they're giving me inspiration and tips and strategies, and I'm going to use that. And step three is just taking action, crazy amount of action, because as long as you're acting, as long as you're in the moment, as long as you're in the flow of doing something, of being productive, doing something you love, doing something that brings you joy. I use the word the flow because I think the flow is super important. And what I mean by that is, you're in such a zone where it's like, it feels effortless. Time stops, there's nothing else on your mind. In fact, there's nothing on your mind. You're just in the action. Maybe you're a musician. I know Steve Renier, you're a musician. You've maybe felt this when you're just in the zone, man. You're just feeling the music, and it's like something takes over, right? And that's the kind of thing that gets you out of fear. As long as you're in that zone, you can't be fearful, because you're no longer ruminating in your mind, or you're no longer contemplating or reflecting, which is, I talk about all the time. It's beautiful to do that. It's important to do that. But as long as that's the only thing you're doing, you are screwed. You are screwed. I'm telling you, because that's what happens to people. And it happens to me, guys. That's why I know this, because I deal with it, and I talk to friends who deal with it. And then I hear stories online and in podcasts of people who deal with it. They're so caught up in their head. They're always thinking, overthinking. I'm thinking about this and this and then this and then, well, what if that? And what they're really doing, if you're looking from the outside, they're just sitting on the couch maybe, or they're standing there somewhere, or they're scrolling through social media just thinking, or they're, you know what I mean? And it's like that person's not really doing anything. They're thinking. And so when you take action in place of thoughts, all of a sudden there's no fear. And I know that fear often keeps people from taking action, right? But what do they say? The only way to face fear is to face fear. Like, just do it. And as a result, you learn to overcome it. You build a confidence, you get into a zone. But it's always that first step, stepping into the fear, right? Like taking that first action, saying the first thing, being the first person, just taking immediate action. That's what's necessary, because it's the cure-all. Action is the cure-all. I don't know where I heard that, but I wrote it down. It's like, action is the cure-all. It's important. I probably heard it from Tony Robbins or somebody, because that guy was one of the people who I immersed myself in. He was a mentor who I spent every day with, because I wanted to improve my life. I wanted to change the way I was thinking. I wanted to get through my fear, because I was sick of it, man. There's so much fear. Just can't handle it. And so when you're in action, there's no time to fear. So that's important, guys. I could give you like a recap, but I really want to hear more from you guys. I really do, because that's what this Q&A Tuesday is about. You guys have the opportunity to be on the show, essentially. Like I got your comments here, and so I think it's really cool. Adam, Peter, Steve, that you guys are sharing. I really appreciate it. So another thing that I know people ask a lot, or not even people, this is something I ask a lot. I ask myself this a lot. And it's, how do I deal with fear in such uncertain times, like when I have no idea what's going to happen? And so I've dealt with this a lot in just personally, as a person, right? Trying to become the best version of myself, trying to improve. I've dealt with this in relationships with friends and family, intimate relationships. I've dealt with this in business, in my career, like with my music and with, the books I'm putting out, even with this show, right? I've on a daily basis, I'm working on this show, right? And it happens. But things are so uncertain. I've got this vision of kind of where I want to be and what I want to do and how I want to improve and do the best I can. But at the same time, there's a lot of uncertainty there, because like I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea how I'm going to get there, right? And so there's this formula I always use, because look, I use this formula in my TED Talk. I've used this formula in my life over and over and over and over and over again. I've used this formula in this show over and over and over again. And I'll tell you why. The reason why is because this freaking thing comes up all the time. In fact, it probably comes up in the 3 steps I wrote today. As I was immersing myself in this personal development, professional development, relational development, learning how to become the best version of myself and do the best in the world, the best I possibly can, right? And I'm not perfect by any means, but I'm working towards it every day. And that's what makes me happy, right? As long as I learn and I'm working and I act, I'm succeeding as far as I'm concerned. And so while I'm doing all this, I was dealing with a lot of uncertainty, because I didn't know, where I was going to go or what any of it was going to mean. But I kept finding these patterns in books and programs and podcasts. I was listening to, say I'd be listening to Tony Robbins' program, and he'd be saying, okay, you got to use this 3-step formula. And then I'd listen to, something that Wayne Dyer or like Ralph Smart or like, Eric Thomas or some of the other people who I was really, learning from and immersing in at the time, and Gary Vaynerchuk, right? These kind of people who really inspire me, listening to their content, learning, studying. This formula kept coming up, and I'm like, what what is this? Like, this must be the everything. Like, this must be just at the most basic level. This is what it is. And it's really simple. It's 3 questions that you ask yourself for any situation that you want to solve or anything you want to do. And it's what, why, and how, right? What, why, and how. And in my TED Talk, I framed it in a sense of how to change your life. And the what I said was your inspiration, right? Like, what inspires you, what you see, what you want to become, your vision, like what it is in clear detail, crystal clear, right? And a lot of people, they're a little iffy on the what sometimes. They kind of know what they want. They think about it sometimes, but it's not crystal clear. It's not like true inspiration. And the second one was your motivation, right? The why. And this is a really important one. In fact, I think I spent the most time describing this one because the why, I think, is what a lot of people miss. It's weird too, because it's like literally the most important thing. And the why is, why are you even interested? Why did you even get out of bed this morning? Why do you want to change your life? Why? Like, what's the payoff for you? What are you going to experience? What are you going to feel? How's the world going to be different? How's your relationships going to be different? How is the way you feel about yourself going to be different? How is your identity going to become more, right? This why is like the missing link in so many people's thought process. You know, they kind of, what they do is they skip over the motivation. They say, I don't need motivation. And they skip straight to the transformation, which is the third step, which is the how to. And I say in my talk, you know, like the how to is everywhere. Think about it. The how to is on Google, how to do this. The how to is at the library. The how to is through the people who you know, your family members, your friends, your mentors, people at the school, maybe people whose books you read, whatever it is. Maybe people whose podcasts you watch or programs, courses that you take online, right? Because we live in a world where you could really be mentored and you could get the how to anywhere. It's everywhere. It's in your face constantly. And so that's really cool. But the thing is people get caught up in the how to, and the problem with the how to is oftentimes it doesn't cover inspiration or motivation. And oftentimes inspiration and motivation is the difference between somebody who follows through, somebody who breaks through fear, somebody who makes their life the way they want it to be, and somebody who quits as soon as it gets tough, because all they have is a how to. They don't have a why. They don't have a strong reason why they're doing this. And not to mention, they don't even know what it is they're after. They don't even know what it is they want at the end of the day. And so it's such a, for me, finding this, making this connection, finding this realization was huge for me. I this is why I talk about it on the show all the time, and I tell people all the time, because it really can be that simple. Like, it really can be as simple as asking yourself 3 powerful questions and actually spending time on those questions. Not just, okay, I'm going to take 30 seconds to be like, okay, what do I want? Okay, what do I want? Okay, how am I going to get it? Okay, I'm out. Right? It's not enough. Right? I spend hours on this sometimes. Right? Every single day I spend time on my what, why, and how. I journal about it. When I go to bed, right before I go to bed, I write stuff down on my what, why, and how. And like, this doesn't just apply to changing your life. This applies to fear, right? Today's about fear. You want to break through fear. Okay, what fear? What is the fear specifically? Get absolutely clear on what that fear is. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of rejection? Are you afraid of embarrassment? Are you afraid of humiliation? Are you afraid of suffering? Are you afraid of pain? Right? All of that is really a form of pain for most people, right? But once you describe that fear, and you know, what would I have to do to believe that? Like, what would I have to believe for that fear to exist? And then you start to decipher and learn, why do I fear these things? Right? Like, what would I have to believe? And that's the second step. Why am I in fear here? And then once you really get down to it, and look, this might sound counterintuitive to some people, because they're like, dude, you want me to sit there and for an hour and like think about fear and just sit in fear? Like, shit, dude, that sucks. No, look, I'm telling you that when you go through this process, just the act of putting it on paper gets it out of the way. You know, just the fact that you put it on paper helps you process it. Your brain, your conscious and subconscious, doesn't have to hold on to it so much anymore. It's somewhere now. And so it's like you could put a piece of your brain somewhere. Don't quote me on that one, but you know what I'm trying to get at here. You know, you're trying to break through fear. You give it the what, you ask the why, and then figure out how you're going to get through it. And the how, again, is the action. It's the transformation. It's the strategy. It's the game plan. It's the quest, the mission. Like, what exactly are you gonna do? Because you're done thinking, right? Because you could think and think and think and think all day, every day, for a week, a month, a year, decades. Or you could just put it on paper for 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, however long it takes you to really get through this. Some people have a lot of fear that they gotta journal, that they gotta get rid of, right? And you know what you could do afterwards? Burn it. Here's my fears. Okay, I got them on paper. They're out there now. Okay, I got my game plan. Maybe I'm going to keep my game plan so I could have it written down somewhere. And I'm just going to burn my fears. You got a lighter? Is there a lighter? Okay, we're in my house, so we're not going to burn this right now. But for dramatic effect, I'd have done it. But seriously, you got to take crazy action sometimes like that. You got to do something crazy. You got to do something wild. Do something out of the ordinary. Do something that most people would never even think about doing. That's my favorite thing. That's my favorite philosophy. Is like, are most people doing it? No. Okay, maybe I should do it. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if that comes from me being like a weirdo in high school who just wanted to be different from everybody, or it's from me who, you know, really wanting to know exactly what it is the best way to go. Like I was telling Adam, me and Adam totally relate, because like I was saying, I'm always looking for that edge. I'm always looking for the next small thing, small tweak, big change, whatever I could do to improve myself. Whether it's, let me eat a little bit differently, right? Maybe I got to change my diet. Maybe I got to change my exercise. Maybe I got to change the books I'm reading. Maybe I got to change my habits. Maybe I got to change, you know, what time I'm doing this or doing that. Maybe I got to fast for 3 days, right? Maybe I got to do something out there that most people would never do. But would you think about it, like most people are not very satisfied with their lives, bottom line. And so I don't really think that's cool at all. I think you should be so passionate and in love with your life. You should be really pumped about it. Obviously, some days are going to be harder than others. Some weeks, some months might be harder than others. But you make a standard for yourself that I'm going to make sure I live in this just awesome state of awesomeness, just loving life, just doing the best I can, even when I get hit with fear, even when I get hit with doubt, even when I get hit with uncertainty. I'm going to take action. I'm going to power through. And that's it. Like, that's just that. And let me tell you why, another reason why I wanted to bring this topic up today, because I've been fearful, super fearful in the past, you know, maybe week, 2 weeks. It's just been a fearful time for me. And so this is a powerful lesson for me to share, because these are things that I've applied in the past that have worked for me and things that I'm applying now that are working for me. And so to pass it on is a wonderful way. And I always say the best way to learn is to teach, right? It's scientific. It's literally scientific. By teaching you this, it's more, I learn more than you will learn by doing this. It's crazy. And so like, I'm so, you know, I'm humbled because I get to do this, because you know, there's so much in it for me, and there's so much in it for you guys too, because, you know, this isn't just stuff that most people even think about or want to talk about. This is stuff that I think is really important, and it's just easily overlooked, basically. You know, a lot of people just easily overlook it, but I refuse to overlook it, because like I said, most people are not satisfied with their lives. All right, the divorce rate's like what, 50%? The obesity rate in our culture is like what, like 50%? I don't know the exact numbers, but you get the point. It's bad, right? There's more people who die from suicide than wars and natural disasters put together, right? People are not satisfied with their lives. And so it's such a topic that goes overlooked. It's such a topic that people don't want to talk about. They don't even want to think about, because it brings so much pain, brings so much uncertainty, it brings so much, you know, there's something in the chest just going, right? Nerves, anxiety about the situation. So a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but you'll never get over it until you, like I said, step one, embrace that feeling, really embrace it, accept it, respect it. It has something to share. There's a reason that this is feeling this way. It's not just because whatever, you know, maybe, I don't know what you believe, but maybe your body, maybe your subconscious, maybe some God or higher self or whatever is trying to give you a message that maybe you need to change. Maybe there's something in your life that you're not happy with, or that's not, you know, up to your standards. I don't know what it is for you, but respect that fear, appreciate it. Step 2, find a role model or find a strategy to get out of it. And then step 3, go crazy all in on that strategy and make it happen. Boom. So we got more comments. Peter Francis, you are your own content. Yeah, I guess so. Peter Francis, let's make it happen. Brendan Bay, let's make it happen, man. Steve Renier, you have the power to be anything you choose to be. You really do. It's like yours. I love that, man. Steve Renier, people's largest fear is that of change. It is, because change brings about the unknown, right? Change is, I will never know. Like, I don't know what's going to happen next. And that uncertainty, that's why I use the word uncertainty a lot today, is because there's an unknown. There's a, I don't know. There's a, what if, there's a, kind of like feel to it. And so it's really good to realize that it's natural. Like I said, we're literally meant to fear. We're programmed, we're wired to fear. And so if you want to live a happy life, you're going to have to learn and take action on how to counteract that, and how to create more happiness in your life. And like I said, it's not all about fighting fear, attacking fear, resisting fear. It's more about, accepting the fear for what it is and deciding to put it away and just move on. And so that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Look, this was fun. I love these Q&A Tuesdays. Thank you so much, Steve, Peter, who else was on here? Adam. Yeah, thank you guys so much. And all the other people who just tuned in. And like, I seriously appreciate you guys so much, because like I said, this isn't a lot of stuff that a lot of people want to talk about, but I believe it's important. And I believe it's just a message that needs to be shared. This stuff has changed my life. No exaggeration. And, I'm sharing it because maybe it could change yours. So if you want to support what we're doing at Implicit, and you want to, there's books, and we got programs and courses, and we've got coaching and mastermind. We're working on a lot of things for you guys, and it's all available at patreon.com/implicit entertainment, or no, /implicit, right? Yes, patreon.com/implicit. So thank you guys so much. We got one more comment from Steve Renier. I want to acknowledge this because Steve Renier is awesome. He says, human nature, survival instincts are to live safe, otherwise known as being in a rut. Yeah, so do you want to live a safe life or an adventurous life? Experience it. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you guys. Peace. Thank you, Larissa.